A neighbor keeps hearing screams from the locked apartment next door, and after the landlord insisted the place was empty, something inside said that was a lie. The next night, the sounds returned. Not screams this time, but slow, dragging footsteps moving across the wooden floor, back and forth, as if someone were pacing in the dark. There was no light under the door, no shadows, no movement, just footsteps in a place that was supposed to be abandoned. Curiosity always starts as a whisper, a small, harmless thought. Just go check, just listen one more time, just make sure. But curiosity never stays small. By the fifth night, the noises had become routine. Every evening, right after midnight, the pacing began. Sometimes soft tapping followed, sometimes quiet, shaky breaths, and once a sound that was unmistakably a sob. The worst part wasn't the sounds, it was the way the building reacted. The old walls creaked in synchronized patterns, as if responding to whatever existed in that apartment. And the air, it always turned cold. Not normal cold, not its winter cold. It was the kind of cold that bites your skin, like walking into a freezer every single night. Finally, unable to ignore it anymore, a decision was made. The door next door needed to be checked, properly this time. A deep breath, a slow walk down the hallway. Each step felt heavier than the last. The building was silent, that suffocating kind of silence that makes your heartbeat sound too loud. Standing before the door, a hand hovered over the doorknob. No sounds tonight. Nothing. Maybe the problem had solved itself. But when the doorknob was touched, the metal was ice cold. Not cool, not chilly, frozen. The door was locked tight. But then, something happened. A soft knock from the inside. Once, twice. Then a slow drag of fingernails across the wood, scratching downward. It was a plea. Not aggression, not anger. A plea to open the door. The urge to run was almost stronger than the urge to stay. Almost. With shaking hands, the landlord was called. He arrived half asleep and half annoyed, keys jingling in his pocket. "This apartment has been empty for months," he repeated. "No electricity, no visitors, no one." But when the key slid into the lock, the landlord froze. The doorknob was warm, too warm, as if someone had been gripping it from the other side only seconds ago. He stepped back, actually stepped back. "That's not normal," he whispered under his breath. The building lights flickered, once, twice, 3 times, and then the lock clicked. By itself. The door opened a few centimeters, just enough to reveal pure darkness. Not regular darkness, a darkness so thick it swallowed the light from the hallway. A smell seeped out, old, damp, like a basement that hadn't been opened in decades. The landlord, pale, now raised his flashlight and pushed the door gently. The beam cut through the darkness and revealed nothing. No furniture, no bed, no boxes, no signs anyone had ever lived there. Dust covered everything. But the floor had footprints, fresh ones. Not one pair, but many, leading in circles, back and forth. Exactly where the pacing had been heard. The landlord whispered, "I swear, the last tenant moved out 6 months ago." Before any of this could be processed, the flashlight flickered again, then cut off. Total darkness swallowed the room. A breath, soft, trembling, came from the far corner. Not a sound imagined, not a pipe, not a gust of air, A human breath, slow, shaky, right behind the flashlight. And then a voice, a whisper so fragile it almost wasn't real. "Don't close the door." Silence fell, heavy, choking silence. The landlord panicked, stumbled backward, and slammed the hallway lights back on. The door to the apartment drifted open wider, not pushed, not pulled, just gliding smoothly as if something invisible was waiting. But the room was empty, completely empty. No person, no shadow, nothing. Only one thing remained. On the dusty floor, a message had been written with a finger, fresh, clear. 3 words: "I am trapped." The room fell silent again. But the truth was suddenly obvious. Whoever had been screaming, whoever had been pacing, whoever whispered, "Don't close the door," they were never inside the apartment. They were trapped somewhere deeper, somewhere the door wasn't meant to open. And the worst part, the message in the dust was still being written, letter by letter, by something unseen. The letters in the dust continued forming themselves, moving as if someone invisible was still on their knees, writing desperately. The landlord backed away first, eyes wide, breathing fast. "This place is cursed," he whispered. "We're not going inside." Close the door, now. But the door refused to move. It stayed half open, as if a hand on the other side held it in place. A cold wind pushed out from the apartment, even though there were no windows open. It circled the hallway, creeping up the walls, curling around ankles, like something alive. And then the message changed. The words in the dust erased themselves and rewrote into something new. "You heard me." A chill crawled up the spine. Those screams, the pacing, the knocking. Someone knew they were being listened to. The landlord motioned to leave, but before a single step could be taken, the apartment lights, which shouldn't have been working at all, flickered on. A dim, yellowish glow filled the empty room. Something was standing in the center, a tall, thin silhouette, unmoving, facing the wall. Its shadow stretched unnaturally long across the floor, as if the light inside didn't obey normal rules. The landlord whispered, Is that a person?" But the figure didn't breathe, didn't sway, didn't react. It was like a cutout of darkness, stuck in place. Slowly, the silhouette turned, not the body, just the head. A full rotation toward the doorway, as if bones didn't exist. The face was featureless, no eyes, no mouth, just smooth darkness, like a hole shaped like a person. The lights flickered again. The figure vanished. The room was empty. But something else wasn't. 5 new words were written on the floor. "You should have helped." The hallway lights popped, one by one. Boom, 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 boom. Darkness swallowed everything. Something cold brushed past. A whisper slid along the ear. "You listened, but you never opened the door." A hand grabbed from behind, cold, long, impossible fingers, and pulled, hard. The entire hallway stretched, bending like a tunnel made of rubber, warping into the apartment. The landlord screamed. That was the last sound he ever made. Everything snapped to black. When the building inspector arrived the next morning, the hallway looked normal. The locked apartment looked untouched. No signs of struggle, no footprints, no landlord. But there was one thing. On the dusty floor of the empty apartment, someone had written a new message. "Now you're next door." And the strange part? Every night after that, just past midnight, residents reported hearing screams coming from the hallway wall. Screams that sounded like two voices now, one desperate and one whispering, "Don't close the door."